Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Game day for BYU. Coming up at 10:30, they will play Iowa State. For the Utah Hockey Club, they are just 2 points out of a playoff berth after a win last night. We'll get you the best of the postgame show coming up. But let's start with the best of the Jazz postgame show. They were fined $100,000 for sitting Lauri Markkanen when the NBA is pretty sure he could have played. Faking an injury to Tank. Who would do such a thing? So Markkanen played, and the Jazz led by a point late in the game. Memphis scored the last 8 points of the game. They beat the Jazz. Here's the best of the postgame show.
Sure Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you. The Jazz fall to the Grizzlies 122-115 in Memphis. The Jazz were led by John Collins and Colin Sexton that both had 22 points apiece. Walker Kessler, 9 points, 14 boards, 5 assists, and 6 blocks. Lauri Markkanen, who played after the Jazz were fined $100,000 yesterday for not playing him. Lauri was 5-14, 14 points, and 6 rebounds in the loss. For Memphis, they were led by Luke Kennard, who had 30 points off the bench. John Morant, with a strong fourth quarter, finishes the game with 28. Let's get to the post-game sound and Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
Competed really hard, but tonight was a night where, honestly, the turnovers makes it really hard for us. I mean, 23 turnovers and 15 of them are live ball. There's not really one thing that stands out in that category other than we just have a little bit of a knack at times for being casual with the ball and assuming that easy things or the things that aren't easy are going to be easy. Turnovers on inbounds passes, turnovers on entry passes into our offense, not fighting for our space. Sloppy with ball handling in the backcourt, outlet pass turnovers that just don't need to happen. And in those moments, I think the hardest part is that the hard work that the team is doing in all the other areas of the game are wiped away by one category. I thought the team's energy and effort in the second half was very good. I think the zone helped us disrupt their rhythm offensively for a bit. But the live ball turnovers leading to transition really made it hard for us tonight. I still see a lot of our young players getting better. I thought Cody, had a very good game defensively tonight and is showing more force when he plays. Flip continues to be really solid in his minutes. Isaiah has been a tremendous playmaker for us this season. So I'm still seeing a lot of growth from our young guys, and our staff feels that. You hurt for the team some nights when you know how hard they're working and you know how locked in they are and how together they are. I don't question the spirit of the team at all. This is one that I really wanted for them, but ultimately the turnovers cost us.
We just talked about this last game, but it seems like even more tonight, the collective rebounding. You guys out-rebound 60-39. 8 guys with 4 or more, 6 guys with 6 or more. How does that continue to just keep being a team mindset to do that?
Yeah, that's an area that is going to be every single night an emphasis for us. Tonight, I think that the team's awareness was really heightened because of the physicality of Memphis, because of the physicality of players like Zach Edey, for example, where you have to give maximum effort and you can't let somebody do it on their own. So I feel really good about that. Now it's about on the nights maybe where we're playing an opponent where it doesn't jump off the page that you have to be super locked into rebound, can we still have that same focus? Because when I see, like you mentioned, 8, 6, 8, I see that one of the people that had 8 is Colin. And the person with 6 is Cody. JC has 4, Isaiah has 4. Those things are really good carryover but it's such a focus when you play Memphis because they can crush you in the possession game that I thought the team really made that, a primary emphasis tonight. We have to do it every night, though, because it actually can be a strength of our team. With some of the lineups we play, when you have John and Lowry and Walker out there, I think that Colin has a nose for the ball, digging out long rebounds. I think Isaiah as well. Cody's length is something that I think can be to his advantage. I thought he had a couple of nice, tough rebounds right in front of our bench. So it's all going to be about carryover. And can we do it against everybody, not just on the nights where you come into the game sort of fearful of the other team's ability to rebound.
You also said you really liked how the team came out in that second half, especially that third quarter. You guys outscored 36-26. What was your message to them at halftime to come out like that?
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily about my message or our message as a staff. I think halftime is usually a moment of refocusing or even boiling it down further. You have a plan in the morning, you go over concepts. As the first half goes, the staff's talking and we put together a little film for them at halftime, and it's usually about a couple of the themes that we've talked about in the morning, but sometimes it's, hey, let's really focus on this one area and maybe here's one adjustment. But I felt like when we came in at halftime, the team had already been having some conversations amongst themselves about if we can stay solid with the ball and if we can limit, some of the Morant drives early in the clock, it was going to give us a chance to win. And I thought they kind of already knew what they needed to adjust, and we maybe confirmed a few of those things for them. But, I don't want to sit here and pretend like it was because of some message at halftime. I think the team just really did a good job of feeling the first half, refocusing, and tightening up a few things.
How did the zone help out defensively for you guys?
More than anything, it just makes the other team usually have to run something different. I thought they had gotten in a pretty good rhythm offensively in the first half against our man-to-man. It was able to sort of build in a shift player at the nail versus Morant because you just leave somebody at the top. I think it also heightened the awareness of our team. Sometimes you change the defense because it makes your team talk. It makes them, the zone requires a lot of communication because people are passing players off and things like that. So I thought if nothing else, it heightened the awareness of our group by kind of switching their brain to something different.
Lowry being back for the first time in a little bit, what did that add to the group?
Adds a lot because the other team is so focused on him. Memphis top-locked him the whole game. There are plenty of possessions where Lowry's in the corner and they just leave somebody right on top of him, top-locking him. They're almost not even playing team defense, so it makes it a little bit more 4-on-4. So his, I guess his gravity or whatever you want to call it is such a big deal for our team because he can warp the spacing of the other team's defense.
What did you make of what happened between Ja and Colin late in the game, and were you surprised that Ja reacted the way that he did?
I mean, after watching the replay, it seemed like Ja went for a lob and Colin was standing under the basket. I don't think there was anything malicious. I think he put his arm up so they didn't get a leg to the head. I know Colin's the least dirty player I've ever been around. And as for Ja's reaction, I don't know. I think players, it's intense and emotional, and guys get into it all the time.
That is Jazz head coach Will Hardy. Let's now move on to the players. Here is Walker Kessler.
Yeah, it's great. I think that all the guys, 1 through 5, it's not just the bigs, but even the guards, do a great job of gang rebounding. And everyone's on the glass, and it's very hard to offensive rebound against our defense. So it's great.
Coach mentioned at halftime you guys were already kind of discussing your own thing on what you guys wanted to fix kind of before he came in here. How important is it at this point in the season for you guys to communicate on what's going on in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's massively important. Coach always speaks on how, player-to-player conversations are huge because at the end of the day, that's who's on the floor. So continuing to develop those relationships and develop those communication skills with each other is going to be huge in the future.
What did the zone do to help get you guys stopped defensively?
Yeah, we did a great job in that zone. They hit a couple corner threes that we don't usually give up, but the guys all understood what we're trying to do. It's kind of they do a great job on the perimeter and they kind of funnel everything into the paint, and we do a good job of fanning out when the time needs. So it was working for us tonight.
How big of a boon is it to get Lowry back in a game like this?
Yeah, huge. It was awesome having him back on the floor. He does so much, not even just making shots and being an offensive threat, but playing great defense, being another big body to rebound and everything like that. So it was a lot of fun having him out there.
And John goes out, takes a breather after that ankle kind of thing, comes back in, shoots free throws, and then just keeps playing. I mean, what did you make of that in his performance tonight?
Yeah, he played great. It takes a lot of mental toughness to go through an injury like that and keep playing, but we needed him, so he showed up and he played well. Didn't get the result that we all wanted, but we competed to the very last horn.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
There's Walker Kessler, 9 points, 14 boards, 5 assists, 6 block shots. Let's now move on to Colin Sexton.
Especially coming out in that second half, the way you guys battled in that third quarter, and then even towards the end of the game. I mean, what was the message between you guys as teammates?
Honestly, we just came into halftime and knew we had to make a few adjustments, and those adjustments were just getting back in transition, not giving up so many easy threes, and just playing together and stop turning the ball over.
The team effort, I've asked everyone about this tonight, but rebounding. You had 8 rebounds just in a mix of at least 8 different guys with 4 or more.
Yeah.
What is that like as a team to do that?
Honestly, we knew we had to get on the board since they have a really big guy, and we can't leave it all up to Walk. We got to all gang rebound and do it together.
What ways did that zone help you guys defensively?
Honestly, it just helped us stay connected. At the end of the day, we knew if they rebounded, that gives them a lot of second opportunities to shoot threes and get what they want. So.
And then getting Lowry back, how big of a thing was that?
Oh man, it felt good. It felt good to have our guy back. I was able to assist him on the first 3, so I was super excited about that. So just to have him back, he's getting in his rhythm, and you can tell he was excited to be back.
And the headbands tonight, are you able to give us a little backstory on that?
No, the headbands got to stay in the locker room, but honestly, I couldn't do it. I warmed up with the headband on, but after that, I took it off. It's time to go.
You ever played in a headband in a game before?
No, absolutely, and I'm not starting today.
Great. Thanks,
Appreciate it. Thanks.
That's Colin Sexton, 22 points, 8 boards, and 7 assists, but the Jazz lose to the Grizzlies 122-115. The Jazz now return home. Their next game will be tomorrow night, taking on the Raptors at Delta Center. Tip-off for that game will be at 7:30. Pre-game coverage begins at 6:30.
There's the best of the Jazz post-game show. We'll check in on the Utah Hockey Club next, and also BYU coach Kevin Young in advance of the Iowa State quarterfinals. Stay with us. Good morning. DJ and PK is proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. All right, time to check in on the Utah Hockey Club. 3-2 winners over Anaheim, 2 points out of a playoff spot. Adrian Denny has the best of the postgame show.
DJ and PK, the Utah Hockey Club picked up a 3-2 victory over the Anaheim Ducks Wednesday night at Delta Center to improve to 8-3-2 in their last 13 games since Dylan Guenther returned from injury. More on him in a second, as they're now within 2 points of that final playoff spot in the Western Conference as they continue to roll at home as well, 7-2-3 in their last 12. It was Dylan Guenther's team-leading 24th goal of the year in the third period with Utah on the power play that put the team up for good 3 minutes and 41 seconds after the Anaheim Ducks tied the game at 2 in a game Utah had previously led 2-0.
One-timer, Guenther, he scores! You can't stop it! You know it's coming, and you cannot do anything about it! Dylan Guenther, with his team-leading 24th goal of the year, makes it 3-2, put Utah back on top!
Guenther's team-leading 8th game-winning goal of the season. That is third in the NHL. Only 2 more players in the league have more game-winning goals than number 11 for Utah. So they pick up the victory, and they'll move on to Seattle on Friday night. We heard from Dylan after this one, after another big goal. 14 of Gunther's 24 goals this year have come in the third period or overtime. That's his 4th goal this year in the third period. That has given Utah the lead, and Utah now 17-0-1 when Gunther scores a goal.
A lot of good loose puck recoveries from, H mostly down there. And when Kells is kind of low, it kind of compacts him, so I was able to get the shot off.
The way you guys obviously progressed over this game, the last couple minutes in protecting that lead, what was most important about those conversations, how you guys played? What'd you see?
I think we're getting a little bit better at those situations every game. I don't think we played our best game today, but we found a way to win, and we managed the puck pretty well at the end of the game.
Do you take more away from games where you don't feel like you have your best game, but you're able to find a way to win?
Yeah, I think so. At this time of year, the points are huge, so don't really ask how, but I think there's an opportunity to learn from every match.
How confident is that first power play unit that you guys are going to score when you're put on the ice in a situation like you were in the third?
Yeah, pretty confident. I think we do a pretty good job of shaking off the ones before and just getting ready for the next one. Even sometimes we're not really set up, but we find a way to get a good opportunity, so that was a big one.
Saw you kind of calling for it. How are you communicating on the power play, just letting them know you're open on that left side?
Yeah, I think when they were I saw they were low, so I wanted Kells to go up to Sergei, and then he gave it over to me, so just good recognition. I feel like we've got pretty good chemistry as we continue to play together.
Your goal gave Sergachev his 300th career point. What has he meant to this team?
Huge. Really nice save by him there in the second. I think just a big leader for us off the ice. When he talks, everybody's listening. So, he's the backbone of our team, and it's great to have him.
Thanks, Dylan.
Sweet. Thanks.
That power play for Utah continuing to come up at big times now. 12 for 36 over the last 10 games. That's a 33% clip, and that is getting the job done. Karel Vejmelka's 18th win of the year ties a new career high for him. Only seeing 21 shots, stopped 19 of them, and for the second straight game, only allowing 1 5-on-5 goal. Let's hear what head coach Andre Turney had to say after this one.
Gunther gets his 8th game-winning goal of the year. How much confidence do you have when he gets into those situations?
A lot of confidence, but I think he's today. If you talk about today, yeah, he had a rough start, and then he was elite. I think from middle of the first to the end of the game. That I know he scored a goal, and it's pretty important, especially that one. But what he did on the ice is, I'm more happy about the shot he blocked when the game was on the line than his goal. In a sense of that's a choice you make. It's scoring goal. It's a pretty easy choice when you have an opportunity. But when you decide to put your body on the line and sacrifice yourself for the team and do that for your brother, and I think that's huge.
Sergachev kind of did that in the second period. That goal he stopped on the goal line. Just what does his desperation and determination mean for this group?
Defensively, he has a read. It's great, and I think he bounces back after his 2 penalty as well. He's great pass on Gutter's goal and stuff like that. So, elite player make elite play at key moment.
You use the word brother there, as have a lot of your players. How have you seen this kind of family mindset as the years progress?
I think it's a strength of our organization, and for a few years now, the togetherness, the brotherhood we have, it's special. I think the guys care so much about each other. Sometimes when you care about someone, you try to do too much, and it's the wrong thing. But I think in general, our team is really close, and they love each other, and they fight for each other. They're together and everything.
Going back to that Sergachev save, Karel was out of the net, and he really needed Sergachev to step up for him. How much trust do they have in each other for Veggie to be backed up by Sergachev?
They have so much trust. We give a few breakaway here and there. No, but seriously, it's I think that's the connection you can have as a team. I think you need you need your defenseman to protect your goalie or your forwards, and you need your goalie to pick up the garbage when someone make a mistake or whatever. That goalie, that's why it's a dirty job sometimes, because you get the criticism when you make one mistake, but probably there's a few mistakes before the puck came to you. So I think that's why we're lucky to have good players at every position.
Speaking of Edgy, he's been rock solid this past months, really. Given the current goaltender situation, how do you plan to manage his time looking into this next month?
That's a good question, but we will do really a game at a time. There's a reality of the standing in the race we are in right now. For us, it's playoff time. So if it was playoff time and you will ask me how you plan to manage his ice time, my answer will be pretty easy. So that's the way we see it. Having that said, history with Veggie says we need to make sure we manage the workload. So what we do, to answer your question, we manage a lot practice time, and you need to practice to keep a skill at the high level, but you can have shorter practice. We have a E-Bug who can do half of the practice or not taking shot after the morning skate, those kind of things, to make sure we keep the workload lower. So it's not as much as number of time he will go on the ice, it's more the length. When we talk about practice, like morning skate, not today, but 2 days ago, I don't know which day it was, but 2 days ago, before the last game, he just took warm up before the morning skate, a few shots with the goalie coach, with Schwabi, get warm, and he went out right away. He did not stay for the morning skate. Those kind of things will be the way we try to manage his load as much as possible, and we'll see what need be done down the road.
So 17 games left in the regular season between now and April 15th. 9 of them will be on the road. 3 of them coming up over the next week, starting Friday night in Seattle at 8 p.m. face-off. 7 o'clock we'll be on the air here on the KSL Sports Zone with Hockey Night in Utah. Sunday at 6 in Vancouver is a face-off time there, and Tuesday in Edmonton.
All right, there's the best of the postgame show as the Utah Hockey Club wins again. Now will BYU win again? The Cougars getting ready to face Iowa State. Big 12 tournament quarterfinals, 10:30 tip-off this morning, the first of 4 quarterfinal games in Kansas City. Here's Kevin Young with the media in advance of the tournament.
Yeah, just want to congratulate Richie Saunders on being named first team All Big 12 as well as most improved player. Yegor as as honorable mention All League and first team freshman in the Big 12. Thought we had some other guys that were deserving, but happy for those guys. I mean, those are definitely team awards as well. Obviously, there's a lot goes into having individual success, and our guys are well aware of that. So happy for those 2 young men, to represent our university in that those awards. So with that, I'll open it up.
Thanks, Mitch. We'll open it for questions. Dave, go ahead.
Coach, how has Richie progressed from when you met him last spring to first team All Big 12?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. He's obviously got an unbelievable work ethic and just an unbelievable motor. So those are the things that drive him and help him be successful. I think it's been a good marriage in terms of the way we like to play and his strengths. I think it's kind of been a poster child for when 2 things like that meet in a good way, and so it's just been a seamless fit. And he's been he's been great at adapting to a couple of things that are maybe different, and then utilizing his strengths within how we like to operate. So he's taken full advantage of that opportunity.
All right, go ahead, Jay.
Kevin, how would you assess how you're bringing the NBA kind of processes to college basketball? And, so far so good, it seems like, but how would you assess how it's worked?
I think that's a good way to phrase it, Jay, in terms of the processes. I mean, that's
that's just as much, I feel like, what I've tried to bring here as much as anything. You know, I'm a systems-oriented guy. I'm a process-oriented guy. So, you know, a lot of years on the pro side of seeing how things were done there, and was able to, you know, customize it to the way I want to run things here, and was able to bring in a lot of people that understood how I wanted to do that. And I think it makes us unique in a certain respects in terms of how we operate across the board, whether that's, you know, pregame warm-up, as silly as that sounds. I mean, we do it very unique here relative to other college teams, you know, but much more from an NBA side. You know, we've talked, I think, a lot about a lot of our support staff. And so anyways, it rears its head, I think, across our program, and it's sort of the backbone of how we systematically kind of operate.
As a follow-up, has there been anything that just didn't work that you scrapped, or has everything pretty much worked?
No, I mean, I think there's you know, nothing jumps off the page, but there are some things that we just, you know, had to move past. But I think some of that was more, you know, I think systematically, no, everything systematically, I think, has gone to sort of as planned. And we you know, style of play, we've had to tweak a couple of different things, you know, given our roster and this roster's strengths versus weaknesses and so forth. But, you know, for the most part, you know, it's been pretty seamless trying to implement, you know, a lot of the systems that we just talked about.
We'll go Mitch and then Sam.
Kevin, what's the mindset of this staff and the team as how you guys view the conference tournament? Are you looking to go in there and win the whole thing, or just kind of just trying to get better? Like, what's the mindset going into this, knowing that probably you're pretty safe in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, and I always preface cliches by saying I know this is cliche, but it really has been our mantra, you know, taking things game by game and day by day. So that approach for me is not going to change. You know, we'll see who our opponent is in game one, and we'll prepare for that game just like we did every other game throughout this year. I think that's what I learned a lot with this group. They have done well with keeping like a singular focus and not trying to look, you know, past anything. So that's how we're going to approach this.
I wanted to ask you too, it's a little bit, you know, big picture program question. In a couple of weeks, and I know you're looking to make a long run in the postseason, but do you already have a sense of like where players stand for next year with the portal opening up in a couple of weeks? Do you already have those conversations taking place and really kind of have an idea of where guys stand for next year and beyond?
Yeah, it's tricky. You know, I think, you know, in a perfect world, you know, all that stuff is after the fact. But the way things are laid out, that's not the case. So, you know, there's some conversations here and there. I mean, a lot of it with not necessarily the athlete, but maybe their support systems and so forth like that, trying to get a feel for, you know, where things are. It's a tricky balance, and I'd be lying to you if I said we'd had it figured out. So we're just trying to focus on the now, to be honest with you. And, you know, some of that stuff you can get ahead of, but some of it you just can't avoid, like the timing of it. And, you know, we'll have to play it by ear, unfortunately, on some of it.
Go ahead, Sam.
Coach, have you had any interactions or crossover with Alex Jensen your NBA coaching days?
Yes, I have. Yeah, when I was the head coach of the Iowa Energy, me and Alex went to dinner at the Drake Diner, which has great wings if you ever find yourself in Des Moines. Tyson, we should have went there when we were stuck in Des Moines the other day. But, yeah, man, I go pretty far back with Alex. A lot of respect for him and his coaching career. You know, we have a lot of similarities. So, yes, I do.
And then just overall update on the health of the team headed into the Big 12, and if it comes to the point where, you know, maybe some players are banged up, any potential chance at resting some players for the tournament?
I mean, if our medical group, you know, felt like resting a guy was in the best interest of our team, you know, I would do that because those guys are smarter than me and I listen to what they say. As it relates to the health of the group, you know, this time of year, I think every team's got and every player's got some kind of a bump or bruise. So we're definitely dealing with that. You know, Cannon's obviously missed a couple of games. He's we're trying to get him back. He's going through the protocols and so forth. So he continues to kind of be on a day-to-day type deal, and that's kind of where we are.
All right, Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I had the same question about Cannon. So, next question.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Mitch, go ahead.
I'm curious, Kevin, you've had this expanded rotation for quite some time during this winning streak. What do you attribute that guys have, no matter what their output in a game, whether it's a significant impact or maybe the minutes aren't going their way one night, what do you attribute as the reason why this team always stays invested and they're always ready for their moment when called upon?
No, it's a great question. I think there's a couple answers there. I think one, I think it speaks to the character of the guys we have in our locker room and in our program. I think it also speaks to the relationships that our assistant coaches have with our players. Keeping the guys in the boat, rowing in the same direction. Always being there to just work with them and keep them, focused on what they can do to continue to get better. And then, our guys they want to win, and I think when you're able to win, like we have, I think it's hard to not be invested, because at the end of the day, I think every guy that's a high-level competitor wants to win. Some guys want to win on their own accord, and that can be a challenge to put that aside. But I give each one of our guys credit. They've done that, and I know it's not easy for guys. I could go down the list of why every single guy on our team deserves more minutes than they're currently getting. But it's just something that we found that has honestly, we've just kind of tripped on it, and it's been a strength of this team. Hopefully it kind of comes to even more to the forefront where, especially in the conference tournament where, these teams, at least our first opponent, will have to play us on a back-to-back, and then you got to win 3-3. So hopefully our depth can pay dividends there. And as we, advance into the NCAAs, keeping a fresh group out there has been something that's helped us.
And just also wanted to ask, I remember last summer you pointed out guys like Richie and Dallin as being leaders of the team early on when you settled in. Has that materialized where they're still the top two leaders, and have other guys kind of joined the ranks of leaders on this team as you head into the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have a three-headed monster of our captains with the two you mentioned, Trevin, Richie. The three-headed monster is Trevin, Richie, and Dallin. I've seen other guys kind of start to, speak up. I think Mawut's a guy who, with his experience, speaks up as well. But yeah, I mean, those three guys have really, kind of been our leaders and who I've kind of, relied on as the season's progressed.
All right, we'll finish with you, PK.
You got me, Coach?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of programs that are national programs, they're viewed as success is defined by how well they do in the postseason. I don't want to put that label completely on you, but how much do you want to have that label, knowing that means you have a team that is capable and usually does make deep runs in the tournament?
Yeah, no, I welcome it. I mean, that's the whole point, is to have postseason success, and that's what you want. So I welcome it head on.
When we come back, BYU basketball player Trevin Knell joins the show. PK and I talk with a guy who's a little older than his teammates, and they don't mind letting him know it, and he doesn't mind letting them know it. It's hilarious. It's next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. BYU is going to play at 10:30 this morning. Iowa State, Big 12 tournament quarterfinal game. Rematch of that double overtime thriller they just played in Ames, Iowa, that BYU won. Trevin Knell joined the show yesterday, but for you early risers, we thought we'd replay it. They had just landed in Kansas City, and we're going to watch the Iowa State quarterfinal game, which Iowa State rolled to an easy win. So some of the time references are a little off, but nonetheless, good to hear Trevin Knell talk big picture about BYU and how they've gotten to the point that they are now. Here's Trevin Knell with PK and I. Trevin, good morning.
Good morning. How is everything?
It's going well for us, but it feels like a big week for you. Not the biggest week, but a pretty big week.
Yeah, it's awesome. We just got to Missouri, so it's fun to be here with all the guys. We're going to watch, Iowa State play Cincy in a little bit, then head off to practice. So it's a jam-packed day, but it's awesome for sure.
This has been an incredible season that you've had to date for so many reasons, right? I don't recall anybody, we've been doing this a long time in this market, I don't recall any coach getting the type of run that Kevin Young had gotten, and then boom, getting players that are considered potentially lottery picks. It's like it was just amazing in the offseason, and then so we had such high expectations. And the team did okay, but it sputtered a little bit, and we know that the record being, 1-3 in conference, 2-4, 6-6. But since then, you really took off. And we were talking with Tim Lacombe, who coached college basketball and analyzes the Jazz for us. And one of the things, for me anyway, has been very evident is that everything is settled in to guys know what they're supposed to do when they get out on the court. And so there's been that familiarity and just the definition of roles. And if you were to define reasons or the singular reason as to why the team took off when it did several weeks back, what would you say?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. A lot of people had really high expectations for us. And Coach Young always talks about how expectations are sometimes limiting. And so it just took time for us to gel. It took time for us to really get to know each other. And so right now, no one has an agenda. Everybody wants to win, especially once you get to postseason. No stats matter at this point. Literally, all that matters is, surviving in advance. So that's something that's super unique. And then, when we did go through this kind of lull during conference play, we held a players-only meeting, and we just kind of talked about, what we want the season to be about. And we came to the conclusion of, 3 to 4 things that we really want to focus on throughout conference play. And so the first couple were play for your brother, have joy, be present, and then play harder than the guy in front of you. And so those 4 things have really helped us to, just go out there, leave everything out on the court, play for your brother. And then, when you have guys that, do that, we have a special season on our hands right now.
It catches my ear when you say, just win. Nobody has an agenda, because we played a bite from Dan Hurley, and he said it in a very measured, matter-of-fact way that he knew there were guys on his team that had already made contact with their next school, knew where they were going, and in some cases knew how much NIL money they were getting. Now, I know you're supposed to be focused, and the thing. Man, that says the focus is on next year, the focus is on this week, the focus is all over the place. But it sounds like that's not your experience.
Yeah, I think we are just very excited. When you start winning games, you start to realize, okay, this is what success looks like. This is what it takes to have success. And so the thing, our identity on this team is toughness, and every single day we're trying to stack days, we're trying to stack wins, and so we take no days off. It's really fun to come to the gym, have a tremendous amount of energy. This is the first team I've really been a part of in my career where towards the end of the season, usually guys are banged up, usually the energy is kind of low for practice, and that's not like us. That's not what we're about. And these last couple of practices have been our most high intensity, high energy practices that we've had all year, and it just shows how excited guys are to play for one another, and to go out there and show the world what we're about.
Stack days. That's a KY phrase. We've heard him say it, and you repeated it. So it's obvious the coach has influence. How much influence does he really have? Because it seems like he has a lot when you're repeating one of his favorite phrases.
Yeah, well, Coach Young is awesome. Me and Trey kind of talked about some things about him, and just he's very adaptable, he's very humble, and he's a competitor. Coach Young wants to win just as much as we do. And so, when things aren't going our way, or we're not playing up to what we think we should play up to, or what Coach Young thinks our potential is, he can get a little fiery, which is exactly what we need. And so, that's exactly what we're about. We're just trying to stack days, trying to stack practices, just stack wins. I think that's really helping us to, have this great season and help us through postseason as well.
Because on our end, we're just trying to stack pancakes.
That's what Jaeger's trying to do right now.
There you go. Nice.
little carb loading right there. That never hurt anybody. You're playing 10 or 11 guys on that team. And that does set up a situation where, in some cases, guys would complain about minutes. Certainly that's happened. Now, it also sets up a situation where, to your point where you just brought up play harder than the guy in front of you, there are times if you're playing 30, 35 minutes in a game, maybe you have to pace yourself. But if you're playing 16, 18, 20 minutes, does it enable you to change ends of the floor with a reckless abandon? Like, you don't have to save anything if you're averaging 16, 18 minutes a game. Does it change the pace the team plays at?
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think a lot of teams, they like to play 5, 6, 7 guys. And so Coach Young always talks about, hey, if they want to do that, we'll bring in the cavalry. And so it's awesome to be able to play as hard as you can for as long as you can, get subbed out, and then all of a sudden you're trying to be as loud as you can on the bench, trying to stay locked in. I think the turning point for us was the UCF game where we came out a little slow in the first half. And the second half we found our toughness. We found kind of the way we're going to play throughout the year. And then our bench energy is amazing. I think we have one of the best bench energies top to bottom in the entire country. So we're just super excited. We have joy for each other. And I think the perfect example of it is when Trey threw an alley-oop to Dallin, and his face before Dallin even dunked it was like the biggest smile. Jaeger's trying to do a weird flex at half court. It's just awesome. Everybody's excited and everybody wants to win. And so I think that's really what it comes down to is when you get the chance to play, you're going to play as hard as you can. And when you're not, you're going to be the biggest and loudest cheerleader for the team to be able to, prolong the season and make the season memorable.
If you have noodle arms, how do you flex?
Yeah, Yates put on. We did a deck again. Yates put on a couple of pounds of muscle, so he's definitely getting ready for postseason.
What's really interesting about this team is, and you can speak to this because you came in. The complexion, and I don't mean it, skin color is not where I'm going. I'm just talking about the variety of backgrounds that everybody had. When you came into the program, it wasn't near the level that it is now. You've got guys from all over the world. You got guys that traditionally wouldn't be BYU guys, but yet here they are. And from the BYU perspective, you're sort of a typical BYU player. Let's put it that way. You grew up here, did all those things, and made yourself down to got yourself down to Provo. So we're used to you. But how has it been just blending all these personalities? Because I got to imagine that's been kind of fun.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's awesome to get to know, where guys are from, what their religious beliefs are. And just kind of like their backgrounds, how they grew up, what their path was to get here is super unique. And it's interesting, I know exactly what you mean, but at the same time, the guys that we have, I feel like are perfect for BYU because, they want to be here. They love, what BYU is about. And, what we have in the locker room is a family. And I feel like in my career, I've had different seasons where, we felt like this would be perfect for, BYU, and it ended up not being the season or the locker room that we wanted. So this year it's been fun. We have guys that play Super Smash Bros. On the road. We have, guys that watch movies together, go on dates together. So it's been awesome to be able to have a locker room that's a legit family. And then, when we step on the court, you already have that chemistry. You already have that brotherhood to run through a wall for each other, to have each other's back and play for each other.
How easy is that to build when, on the one hand, you graduated from high school in 2017?
Easy.
You're married. You're a returned missionary. You're mid-20s, and over here, you've had a couple laughs here at the expense of Ego, right? But he is a teenager, right? So if he has noodle arms, well, just wait. 5 years of the weight room, he's going to look really different wherever he's playing hoops in 5 years. And so if he has a weird flex or he's stacking pancakes or whatever it is, how easy is it to build that? Because he really is at a different point in his life than you are in yours.
Yeah, it's completely different. And so it's been fun. Some guys on the team will call me the grandpa of the team or the dad of the team. But at the same time, it's a compliment. I feel like a lot of the guys on the team listen to me, and I've had the experience of, different seasons where it's gone well and different seasons where it hasn't. So a lot of the guys, respect kind of the vet status. But yeah, Ye's a tremendous person. It's fun to go on dates or something like that, and he'll make a joke like, dude, I'm literally 18. Like, but it's been awesome to be kind of a little bit of a mentor for him in his college career, and I'm excited for, what the NBA is gonna bring to him. But yeah, he's going to look like a whole different person. I'm excited. He might be able to beat me up in 5 years at the NBA program, but we'll see. We'll see about that.
How much do you focus on? I mean, you listen to Kevin Young and his media availability, and he addresses it. He says, well, I know it's a cliche, but we're all about now. And I get it. You're going to have a big game coming up, and then depending on what happens, you'll have another big game. I mean, that's the nature of the Big 12. But everything is huge right now. And when I say right now, I'm including next week, obviously. And from that perspective, is it a challenge to stay in that moment that he preaches?
Yeah, it's always a challenge. Like, you always are like, oh, who are we going to play? Or, even right now, it's like, oh, do we play Iowa State? Do we play Cincy? If we win that, like, are we playing Houston? Are we playing, UCF? Like, there's always, different things. There's the what ifs, right? But the team has met with Craig Manning a ton just about staying present and how to stay present. And I think that's, another thing that's credit to our good season this year is, when we had those lulls and stuff like that, we still stayed present. We didn't think too far ahead of, oh, we got to do this to be able to get to where we are now. It was always, all right, let's just stack days, let's stack wins, and, take it day by day. So I think that's credit to, the boys on the team and taking what Craig Manning says, take what Coach says, and applying it.
Do you like watching games? Some guys really like that. Some guys cannot sit still, and they don't have the attention span, and they don't do it. They want to watch a minimal amount of video, and they want to play. Where do you fit on that spectrum, and how about the other guys on the team?
Yeah, like Coach Young actually said, he goes, hey, before the season started, he was just saying how we should all watch the Big 12 games, get a feel for, the physicality of the season, how it's going to be. So it just reminds me of what Coach Young was saying, because he was saying a lot of players he's coached they don't like to watch games. Yeah, I enjoy watching games. I enjoy watching, especially the Big 12, just to see what other guys or the guys I'll be guarding or playing against, how they're doing and kind of their rhythm right now. I think that goes for every guy on the team. Richie's probably the only one that he doesn't like to sit still. He gets up and gets moving a ton. But that's probably because he's ready to run through a wall at any second with how hard he plays. But yeah, every guy, we're going to watch Iowa State and Cincinnati here in a second. So it'll be fun to be able to, watch a little bit of film, stretch out, get ready, and head to practice for today.
A lot of talk, obviously, on the pro model with Kevin Young, and the people that he brought in has some form of NBA experience one way or another. Since you've been there so long, what differences have you noticed that have been manifest by this new model that he's trying to do?
Yeah, it's like we had to relearn a whole different lingo. The language of different plays are all different than what, the guys on the team that were here last year, the years before. So it's definitely pro lingo first. And then it's been awesome to, Coach Young will run a play in practice, and it'll work every single time. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I get a 3-point shot every time. But, yeah, it's been awesome to be able to get coached by not only Coach Young and his, amazing offensive mindset, but also all the other coaches that are just super dialed in. Coach Will's a defensive mastermind, and he's helped us a ton with just ways we can, change the game up, change the momentum of the game. And then also you have Tim, who's offensive-minded. You have JL, who's, won so many Defensive Player of the Year awards that it's helped us to be able to guard different guys one-on-one. And we have a ton of player development personnel. I can go down the list. So really appreciative of all the coaches, and super excited for, every, different recruit that walks through here. You're going to get the best of the best. If you want to go to the NBA, this place is, next to none. It's going to be the best place to go to be able to get to your career and prolong your career in the NBA.
Trevin, we appreciate the time. We know you got to go watch the game and head off to practice, but thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to all the Cougar fans out there. I know they appreciate it.
Of course. Hopefully we can get some Cougar fans out in Missouri and we can make some noise.
When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.